Everybody, and welcome to B4 Live on Tuesday, 7th of April. Hope you're all well and having a good week, or as good as it gets at this particularly challenging time. This morning, we've got Jeremy Howick from Oxford University, who's going to be speaking to us. I first came across Jeremy when I received a couple of his e-newsletters early on in the lockdown, which I found really motivating and generated a lot of positivity in my mind and really helped. And you can get hold of that, Jeremy's e-newsletter. He'll be able to he'll give you some details about that. We'll follow up with more details about connecting with Jeremy and signing up to his 8-week course, which he'll tell you all about. Jeremy, if you'd like to join us now.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant, good to see you. So you're in Whiteham, is that correct, or you're not in?
I'm actually in Jericho, in Oxford.
Oh, fantastic. Brilliant. So maybe if you could just give our viewers a bit of background about you and how you've come to be on our shores.
Well, yeah, I used to do a sport that many of you know called rowing, and I had a bunch of stress, which led to a bunch of experiences that I had with reducing my own stress. And that took me on a journey where I did a bunch of research that I've done for 15 years now on things like evidence, science, the placebo effect, how to reduce stress and improve well-being. And I'm going to share some top tips with you and your audience today.
Fantastic, brilliant. And just touching on your newsletter, could you maybe just give a little bit of a plug and how people can get your newsletter to their inbox?
I'd love for people to sign up. It's very easy. You go to www.jeremyhowick.com, and there's a box where you can sign up with give your email address. And I don't spam anybody. You get one newsletter per month, and it's what I think is cool stuff that will both entertain you and help you be more resilient in your work life and personal life.
Excellent. And on the subject of resilience, I mean, we talked before we came on live about how people might be struggling with the structure to their day and resilience generally and being positive in their mindset.
Yes.
Just use that as a cue for you to start.
Yeah, well, basically, you've all heard of absenteeism. People don't show up to work. Presenteeism is when people show up to work, but they're not productive. Now, presenteeism and absenteeism together costs corporations thousands of pounds per employee per year. And now, of course, in this current situation, the COVID-19 crisis, I mean, presenteeism is even much worse because, of course, stress, which contributes to the #1 killer, heart disease. Stress is a huge problem. There's an epidemic of it in our society. Stress is much higher now for a number of reasons. First of all, you being socially isolated, disconnected from our people we normally meet, increases stress. Second of all, many of us are not used to home work routines. We've got to manage many things, family duties, work duties, etc. So the important thing to remember is that health and well-being, even just mental well-being, is connected to physical well-being and social well-being. So I'll begin. We can go through the science of all these things later with the questions, hopefully, but there are 3 things everyone can do to make their lives much easier. But before I tell you those 3 things, there's one thing that goes on top of them like an umbrella, which is a routine. It's easy to kind of wake up whenever you want and not get dressed up for work, etc. when you're working from home. Make a routine as if you're working. Wake up at the same time, begin work at the same time, decide in advance with your partner, if you have one, who is cooking what meals that day for the week, and then stick to it. Falling off the routine will create stress in the following way. Not having a routine means that your mind is preoccupied with too many trivial things. When do you brush your teeth? What do you wear? What time do you work? What time do you exercise? Having a routine that you decide and you commit to frees you to be more creative and more productive. So it's the other way around. Having a routine allows you to be creative, whereas some people believe that having a routine crushes creativity. So you need a routine, and here are 3 things you got to put into your routine, other than, of course, working and eating. One is take some time to relax. You can call it meditation. You can call it prayer. There's 1,000 different things to call it, and I talk about all of them. Here's a shameless plug in my book, Dr. You. And you've all been exposed to them. If you have not been exposed to any mindfulness or meditation techniques, there's no shortage of them online or on my website, for example. So take some time to relax every day. 2, get some physical exercise. I go out every day and I'm so happy to see, it seems to me that more people now are exercising than ever because they've got more time. But I see that and it's also maybe more pleasant because there are no cars on the road, so you can run more freely. The third thing is something which is perhaps counterintuitive, but take time to connect with others. And you can put that into your routine also. Have a certain time of day when you call people, especially reach out and connect to people who might need it more than you might. Those who are out there feeling lonely, they need to feel that social connection more than you do. But here's the cool thing about doing something nice for someone else, an altruistic act. When you help somebody else, you also help yourself. We all know this from personal experience, but we also have studied it. And there have been a number of trials showing without any doubt that when you do something nice for somebody else, they benefit and your mental health and well-being also improve. So are there any questions at this point from you,
We
Richard?
haven't got any at the moment, Jeremy, but I'm sure they'll start to come through. I mean,
wonderful. I'll carry on with the stress response. People might
please
not
do,
know.
yeah.
So the relaxation response was discovered by the Beatles in 1968. So in 1968, the Beatles were very popular, but they had already achieved a great deal of fame and fortune. And they begin to ask themselves, what is there beyond, sex, drugs, and rock and roll? And they began to meditate with a guy called the Maharishi Yogi, a guy who did transcendental meditation, or TM meditation. And suddenly meditation became popular overnight. And some of these guys who were doing TM meditation went to Harvard University, and they found a researcher there called Herbert Benson, who was doing research with monkeys, trying to lower monkeys' blood pressure with new drugs. These meditators said, no, we can lower our blood pressure with no drugs at all. So Benson thought they were nuts. He sent them away, but they were very persistent. And so Benson agreed to try. He said, sure, I'll try this TM nonsense. That's what he thought it was. But as long as the Maharishi Yogi himself agrees to sign up to the study I'll do, that way, when I show it doesn't work, the Maharishi Yogi will be exposed as a charlatan. The Maharishi Yogi thought to himself, well, my thing works, and when Harvard proves it does, I'll be even more famous, or my technique will be even more famous. So they did a study, and in the first study, actually, the meditators did not lower their blood pressure, but that was because they already had lower blood pressure. They were regular meditators. But Benson saw enough cool stuff happening in their brains. He called it a semi-somnambulistic state, or sleep-like state, to do more studies with those who are not regular meditators. And he found with those people that they could lower blood pressure with no drugs, just meditation. So Herbert Benson thought to himself, well, this is really great, but if I go and tell my colleagues, hey, you know what? I believe in this thing called meditation now, they might think I'm nuts too, just the way I thought these guys were nuts before I did the test. So he changed the name from meditation to the relaxation response, which wasn't a bad idea because the transcendental meditation was not the only game in town when it comes to inducing these semi-somnambulistic states. So the relaxation response is what he called a scientific name. And the relaxation technique he proposes is so simple. You just sit down and relax one body part at a time. Anybody can do it. It takes as little as a minute, and you notice the benefits immediately. And so you notice it immediately yourself in your own experience, and your experience is backed up by hundreds of scientific studies with thousands of people showing that, in fact, this relaxation or meditation does improve your health.
Brilliant, fantastic stuff. I was just looking at the email that one of your e-newsletters that you originally sent out that connected me with you, and talking about contagious kindness, which you referenced earlier in the talk, and the herd mentality, and when it all goes wrong, and when
Yes.
positively. But that was the nub of what you were saying earlier in your talk.
Yes. The herd mentality, social animals, let's say like a cow. I was in Port Meadow about a year ago and I was lying down doing some reading. It was a lovely Saturday afternoon. And suddenly an irresponsible dog owner allowed his aggressive dog loose, and the dog attacked the cows. And suddenly within seconds, the cows all banded together and were stampeding. And the poor dog was caught in the middle. Luckily, he was saved by his owner. Um, but this stampede instinct to kind of band together to defend yourself helped the cows survive. That's how the buffaloes survive lion attacks in Africa and so on. And humans also, we're social animals. It benefits us sometimes to, to follow what the crowd does. It's called the wisdom of crowds. Of course, that wisdom of crowds can go wrong if the crowd is wrong. And the kind of scientific name for that is Condorcet's jury theorem. If the crowd has a greater than 50% chance of being right, then on average, the crowd makes the right decision. But the opposite is true if the crowd has less than a 50% chance. So what I proposed in the newsletter was, hey, something like toilet paper. People were hoarding toilet paper. There's nothing wrong with having a storage of toilet paper, but it's not good if you have so much that someone else can't have any. And when I first went to the shops and couldn't find toilet paper, I noticed the canned foods were not being kind of stored and hoarded. And you can't eat toilet paper. So, it didn't really make sense to hoard toilet paper. Yet they were all doing it. And one reason is the herd mentality. Well, they're doing it. It's gone. I better grab some for myself. And what I think could help society now during this COVID-19 crisis is to get the herd mentality and focus it in the right direction. So I call it a contagious kindness. So if we all do something nice for somebody once a day, think of what kind of benefit it could have for everybody's mental well-being in the whole country.
A positive virus.
A positive virus. I call it even an epidemic of well-being.
Fantastic. Brilliant stuff. Passy, are you ready to come and ask your question?
Okay.
This is Spatial, Jeremy.
Here we go. You can see me now. So literally, I am quite good at trying to keep to a routine with mindfulness and physical exercise and some of my me time more than anything, because I've done a little bit of research in this. But the one thing that I crave is social interactions, mostly hags. I'm a hagger. So when I talk to people, I do it because I want to have that social interaction. I found myself being on the other end of the telephone, taking a lot of their anxiety and problems. So and especially my family is in Spain, so every time they call me, it's just to tell me some bad news. And I just come off the telephone, and the other day I literally have an anxiety attack. I couldn't breathe. So I was just thinking, do you have some sort of technique or advice that it could help with that?
Thank you so much for sharing that story. Your story is universal. There's a saying, someone said, I'm not sure if it's a true story, but it's a story. Someone went to the Buddha and said, I've become an enlightened being, Buddha. The Buddha said, well, if that's true, you must go home and live with your family for 3 weeks. If you're still enlightened after that, then you're truly enlightened, because we all have families who are wonderful, but families do the best things. They all can also cause a lot of stress. So the best thing is now you have complete control over when you talk to them. So I would put that into a routine. And by routine, I don't just mean routine for your mindfulness. It's your whole daily routine. When you wake up, when you work. And then if you put that family time, think of it as your altruistic act. They're feeling stressed and you are giving to them. You're giving them some advice. They're calling you obviously because they respect your opinion or they just want to hear your voice. Instead of thinking of it as it's going to cause anxiety, think of it as you are their therapist. Even if they're older than you, your mother, your father, you are their therapist, and your job is to help them. that'll change the quality of the interaction. And then, of course, you're allowed and you're to limit it. And then you can structure your mindfulness activities or physical exercise immediately before and immediately after. That'd be my advice. So the routine is for everything. If you find the routine for your wake up, work, mindfulness, exercise, eating, etc., is all in place, and this will be a small part of the puzzle, it won't be sufficient to throw you off. And then families are a source of wonderful joy, and also opportunities for growth is the positive way to put it. And you can limit your time and then change the quality. Instead of saying, oh no, they're going to call me, you think you're calling them, ask them how they're doing, and you're there to help them. So that's what will change the quality, and let me know if it works.
Does that help, Plassy? Brilliant, thank you for coming on. I suppose the flip side of that, Jeremy, is calling parents or family members and them saying everything's fine when you suspect something is wrong. And that again creates a different sort of anxiety when you don't know the full facts.
Absolutely, and it's a problem, especially in my experience, and my experience is reflected in the evidence, among men are reluctant to share their emotions. So you have to look for other signs. I've got a huge family, and I've seen a lot of things, and sometimes I've found that it was beyond my ability to help. I had to seek professional advice and so on. If you really suspect someone's doing very badly, and mostly, in my experience, men are more reticent to share their emotional problems. They feel it's unmanly or something.
Yeah. Okay. Tim Wraith from Sobel House, you got a question?
Yeah. Hi, Jeremy.
Hello.
Hi. I work for Sobel House, the hospice.
Can you just move your screen down a bit, Tim? We can see your nose up.
Is that better?
Perfect. Thank you.
But I'm just slouched in my chair. Sorry, I'm trying to realize.
I thought you were wearing a Huddersfield Town shirt then.
I've moved my chair so you can see my bookcase as well. So yeah, obviously I work at a hospice, so places like Sobel run on the kindness and generosity of lots of people. So in a way, I've got a job that I see quite a lot of that, and it's a real joy to see the kindness. But we're seeing more of it out there, and I'm just wondering, Jeremy, whether you think this is going to be, whether what we're all going through will have a lasting impact, or do you think we just revert back to not being a miserable and horrible and everything, but just go back to normal? We do seem to be looking out for people now, more so. I mean, we're talking to our neighbours. I mean, lady 3 doors down, I've never met her before, but she lived there 3 years, and we spoke the other day. So, and we're having more deep conversations with people when we do see them across the road, and people are asking genuinely, how are you, rather than that, how are you, or not too bad, then off you go. Do you see a lasting impact in the human condition, or do you?
Well, thank you for all the wonderful work you do at Sobel. I've given a talk at Sobel House. I don't think you were there, but yes, you guys are experts at kindness, because in a way, in a hospice, the people are there because the treatments don't suffice. What they're there for is the empathy and the care. And what you guys do there is fantastic. And you're also lucky to be well enough resourced to be able to do that. Yes, I wrote another newsletter called Coronavirus, the Bad, the Ugly, and maybe even the Good, because we shouldn't trivialize the tragedy some people are experiencing with this virus. People losing their lives, people losing the lives of loved ones. That's horrible. That's terrible. I'm not trivializing or taking away from that pain that maybe people feel. And then there's some things which are just kind of not as terrible. You know, missing a football match. I would have loved to watch the Oxford-Cambridge boat race this year. It got canceled. This is terrible, of course, but it's not on the same level as losing a life. But then there's some good things. I mean, NASA has done some studies. They've seen less pollution. We are time to spend with my son, my 21-month-old son. And that's wonderful. So are we going to be wise enough to maintain some of the good things we've learned when this thing ends? Because it will end at some point. And I'm an optimist. So I think that we are going to travel less, have fewer useless meetings. People like Richard at B4 Business, who are adapting by his business is resilient by having things like this, online forums and meetings and so on. This is what's going to change things, and it's going to be. I think that there's going to be there's certainly going to be a lot of positive, and I hope that it outweighs any negatives in the long run.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. That's
You're
great.
welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tim. It's funny the point that Tim makes, and hopefully we all will be a lot more aware and kinder to everybody in our networks. And we had the chap on last week or the week before, I forget now, all the weeks rolling into one, saying that after all of this, we'll, as a nation, we tend to sort of pat ourselves on the back for getting through anything. We'll probably be 10 times worse than we've ever been. And I saw his point really. It's probably go on a 16-week pub crawlers. I don't know what it will be. But there is that danger, a very real danger, that we feel we've got through such a difficult period in all of our lives that none of us have ever seen before, that we feel we're owed something after all of this.
Yes, there's that danger, and that some people will do that. I mean, but it doesn't have to be bad. So my wife's birthday was last week. We had a mini celebration. I got her sister and her mother to call in, but then of course, when it all blows over, we're gonna have a big birthday party. But that's not the same as something more decadent like a pub crawl that's not really healthy. So I think celebrating is okay, but if we all start getting drunk and partying and flying around the world for no reason, and more stress and forgetting the important things very close to us, like our families, forgetting our neighbors, that's where it can go wrong. And I think that, Tim spoke to his neighbor for the first time in 3 years, hadn't spoken to the neighbor. That's not going to go away. Now that they've made that connection, that will remain. It also depends on the leadership of the country, of course, too, to provide the opportunities for people to carry on. People are more appreciative of the NHS. So it's not just up to us individuals, although we do have a lot of control ourselves.
Is that okay, Tim? Is there any other questions?
No, it's great. Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Brilliant. Jeremy, just going back to your comment that the reason you're here was your rowing background. And
yes,
see, I had a brief experience in a corporate challenge rowing, and we had a regatta and we had 3 races and we lost all 3 of them. So but obviously working in an 8, that's an incredibly disciplined team unit. And what sort of advice would you give to businesses trying to manage teams remotely?
Well, corporations, in my corporate well-being program, which I run, I view the corporation as a body. So just like I've got a body, an individual has a body, and my individual health depends on my physical health, my mental health, and my social health. So the corporation as a body has to have a strong, good physical health, good mental health, and good social health. So what I would say is, it's never too late to fix those things or improve those things. For physical health and mental health, it's important to communicate the right strategies for your employees. So some of the things I've mentioned today, I've got other things which I'll include in the email, but making sure they have good top-level advice about how to do mindfulness, when to do it, suggestions, when to do exercise, what kind of exercise, set an exercise challenge. One of my friends who I work with has a corporation in California, and he calls his the 50. Everyone's got to do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and 50 squat jumps by the end of the day. And they all kind of report to each other in a WhatsApp group. So you got to think of creative strategies for the corporation's mental health. This depends on what the corporate mission is and the corporate values are. These need to be articulated and genuine. And usually when I walk in to help a corporation, the way I know if the corporation has well-articulated values and a great mission statement is I ask the people in the room I meet with, what is it? If they can't repeat it straight away, I know it's not being communicated well enough. So people need to know when they wake up and when they finish that day's work, what have they done to advance that corporation's mission? And the values help make choices along the way. So many corporations have these, but a lot don't have them. And even among the ones who do have them on paper, they're not genuine. They're just kind of, they sound good, but they don't really mean much. So you need to develop them. And the way I do it is use a what's called a modified nominal group technique to get representatives from all levels of the corporation together to generate a mission statement and make sure it's communicated. Then for the social health of the corporation, corporate social responsibility is the way forward. So think of some charity you want to help, your corporation wants to help, and get people involved in helping that charity, for example. Or you might say, hey, we have a challenge this week. Everybody in the corporation is going to do one random act of kindness to somebody once a day for a week. And you can kind of think of a way to track it using a WhatsApp group or an email group, or just put it out there and have people report back. So those are the things the corporations need to think about, keeping the individuals healthy in terms of their minds, bodies, and spirits, and their corporation as a whole healthy by having clear mission statements, clear value statements, engaging in corporate social responsibility, and communicating great ways for the individuals to stay healthy at home.
Perfect. Excellent. Anybody else, any other questions? Please do get in contact with Jeremy direct when we send the details through later on this afternoon with a copy of the video. Jeremy, I think you should try and do one of those sat-nav voiceovers, because I think your voice is very relaxing, and I think it would de-stress me if we ever drive again. So if that's an option, then I think you should crack on with it.
I'll send you the link to the YouTube video I have for that.
Fantastic. I probably won't watch it when I'm driving. That probably wouldn't be advised. Well, thank you. Really appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon. Just a few things just to mention to everybody. We've got the B4 pages with the community support on the red box there that you can click on when you go to articles on the B4 website. Press on the B4 website with latest updates from the B4 community. We've got the COVID-19 government updates. So I think Jeremy said about not maybe watching too much news, or at least someone has said that in the past couple of days. Maybe just get a quick update so that you don't get too embroiled in the negative press that's going on out there. I'm not saying avoid it, but we can have too much of it. If you're not a B4 member and you'd like to join the B4 community, then please do sign up for the 90-day free trial membership. It's at the top of the website on all the pages, as Rob's highlighting there, and details about what you get for your membership. Ultimately, all this content will be for B4 members only, so it won't always be available to everybody. So it's a 90-day free, no obligation trial. Please do take advantage of that while it's on offer. B4 Live, we've got the B4 Live pages there, so you can see about forthcoming events that we've forthcoming B4 Lives. And so we've got quite a few coming up. Register at the button, which I'm sure most of you already have done for this particular talk. On Thursday, it's normally a Friday, we've got speed networking, so you can either sign up as a member to participate and have your minute and a half just to give an update on your business and how you're coping with current situation. And then you can also, further down the page, you can see videos of all the past talks that we've had, so you can catch up if you happen to miss one of the talks. So as I said before, we'll have Jeremy's on there later on today. So that's all from us. Thank you very much again, Jeremy. Really good to hear from you. Tomorrow we've got Tony Hobbs from Chapman Robinson and Moore talking about business post COVID-19, a brave new world, ? Certainly a very different world, I'm sure we'll all agree. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And Jeremy, thank you very much. Last word?
Stay safe and stay sane.
Excellent. Brilliant. Take care. Thank you.